The stars never stopped screaming. At least, that was how the broadcast felt when it hit every channel, every frequency, every device across the human colonies and Earth itself. The image of the Galactic Peace Council, 12 different alien species crammed into one enormous chamber shaped like a crystal cathedral, blazed on screens from Manhattan's Times Square to the neon chaos of Tokyo's Shibuya crossing. The message was simple. They begged for peace. The irony hit like a sucker punch. 200 years ago, the same council had ordered the cleansing of New Kansas Colony, back when humanity had just learned to leap between the stars. The massacre wasn't just history, it was seared into human memory like an open wound. 3 million dead. Families erased. The footage still played in classrooms, museums, and the occasional political ad designed to make voters angry enough to chew nails. Now, after centuries of silence, the galaxy wanted to talk. Captain Rex Armstrong leaned against the bulkhead of the USS Defiance, arms crossed, chewing on a toothpick like it was the galaxy's neck. Broad-shouldered, sun-weathered, and built like the last action hero in a bad 90s movie, he had the kind of face that made troublemakers nervous and bureaucrats sweat. His crew swore he was born with a cigar in one hand and a shotgun in the other. On the ship's holoscreen, the alien representative, some blue-skinned diplomat with too many eyes and a voice like gargling gravel, pleaded for humanity's forgiveness. "We deeply regret the unfortunate events of the past," it said, fumbling through a translator that gave its words a faintly British accent. "The Council recognizes humanity's remarkable capacity for our resilience and hopes for a future of harmony." Rex spat the toothpick into a recycling bin and muttered, "Remarkable capacity for resilience, my ass. We remember what happened on New Kansas. They can shove their harmony right up there." "Captain," interrupted Dr. Lisa Monroe, the Defiance's chief science officer, not even looking up from her tablet. She was tall, whip-smart, and forever armed with sarcasm that cut cleaner than any scalpel. "You do realize this is the first time the Council's spoken to us in 2 centuries. Maybe don't start the conversation with threats of interstellar shoving." Rex grunted. Lisa didn't look up. She was scrolling through the translated transcript, brow furrowed. "Listen to this. They're offering tech transfers, trade agreements, even medical advancements. Universal cures, Rex. Diseases wiped out in a day." "Yeah." Rex leaned closer to the screen, narrowing his eyes at the alien delegation. "Funny how they didn't think of that before New Kansas burned." Lisa sighed. "I know. But this might actually be a chance to stop glaring at the galaxy like it owes us rent money." Rex didn't answer right away. On screen, another alien took the podium. This one was taller, robed, with a head shaped like an eggplant that had lost an argument with gravity. "I am Zortak," it announced solemnly, voice deep as a church organ. "Chief emissary of the Galactic Peace Council. I come with open arms, bearing treaties and promises of friendship." The translator hesitated, then added, "Also snacks." Rex raised an eyebrow. Did he just say snacks? Lisa pinched the bridge of her nose. Translator glitch. Probably meant offerings. "Yeah, well," Rex muttered, "snacks would make this whole thing go down easier." Back on Earth, crowds had gathered under the blazing holograms broadcasting the same plea. In Times Square, people gawked at the towering images of alien ambassadors with all the seriousness of a Super Bowl halftime show. Vendors sold t-shirts reading, "Sure, let's trust the murder squids and peace, love, and plasma cannons." Memes flooded the net within minutes. Aliens photoshopped into Star Trek episodes, aliens begging for peace under captions like "Talk to the Hand." Humanity didn't forgive easy. Lisa watched the growing data feed from Earth. "Public opinion split," she said, tapping her screen. "Half the planet wants to hear them out. The other half wants to turn the council chamber into cosmic confetti." "Sounds about right," Rex said. "Humans love second chances almost as much as they love revenge." The broadcast shifted again. Zortak leaned toward the camera, his enormous eyes unblinking. "We propose a summit on Earth," he said gravely. "A council of peace, to end centuries of distrust. We wish to start anew." The translator paused once more before adding awkwardly, with hugs. Rex barked a laugh. Hugs? Oh, this I gotta see. Lisa shot him a look. Focus. If this summit happens, it'll be the first time alien leaders set foot on Earth without getting shot at. Yet, Rex said. The feed ended. Across the ship's bridge, the crew muttered, exchanged looks, or stared blankly as though waiting for someone else to speak first. The weight of history pressed in on all of them. New Kansas hadn't been a battle, it had been a slaughter. No warning, no mercy. Humanity had barely survived, only to spend 2 centuries building weapons big enough to make any invading army choke on its own courage. And now the same galaxy wanted peace. The Defiance's comm system chimed. Incoming message, the AI announced. From United Earth Command. Rex folded his arms. Bet you 50 credits they want us babysitting this peace circus. Lisa smirked. I'll take that bet. The message appeared in crisp holographic text. Captain Rex Armstrong. You and your crew are hereby assigned as security detail for the upcoming Galactic Peace Summit. Ensure the safety of all delegates. Maintain professionalism. Avoid unnecessary hostilities. Rex read it twice, then muttered, Yeah, this'll end well. Lisa collected her tablet. Look on the bright side. Maybe they really do want peace. Or maybe, Rex said, turning toward the viewing window where Earth hung like a blue jewel against the void, they're hoping we've forgotten what they did. He didn't add the rest. Humanity didn't forget. Humanity prepared. Down in the Defiance's armory, crates of railgun slugs gleamed under cold lights. Automated drones lined up like soldiers, waiting for the curtain to rise on the final act of some very bloody opera. The summit might be about peace. But Earth wasn't about to show up empty-handed. Somewhere out beyond Mars, a fleet of alien ships lingered just out of sensor range. Watching. Waiting. The timing wasn't coincidence. Rex could smell trouble the way a thunderstorm announces itself before the first drop falls. He turned from the window, jaw set like a man who'd seen too many promises break and too many graves dug. Prep the ship, he told his crew. We're going to this summit, but we're not leaving our guns at home. Lisa gave him a look halfway between exasperation and respect. You really think it's going to come to that? Rex thought of the broadcast, of alien voices pleading for harmony while fleets gathered in the dark. He thought of New Kansas, of fire and silence where cities used to be. He thought of humanity, loud, stubborn, ridiculous humanity, still standing when the galaxy thought they'd kneel. Yeah, he said finally. I think it always comes to that. And somewhere, deep in the cold between worlds, something uncloaked. Something big. The Defiance descended through thick gray clouds like a blade slicing open the sky. Washington, D.C. sprawled below, glimmering with towers of glass and the monuments of a world still proud of itself despite everything the galaxy had thrown at it. At the center of the city, where the United Nations complex rose like a silver crown, the landing pads gleamed under floodlights. Alien ships were already there. They didn't look real. Smooth curves of impossible metal, surfaces that shifted colors like oil on water, symbols scrolling across their hulls in alien tongues. Some hovered silently on anti-grav thrusters. Others stood like beached leviathans from some forgotten cosmic ocean. Crowds gathered behind barricades, cameras flashing, drones buzzing overhead like electronic hornets. Protesters waved banners reading Never Forget New Kansas while others held signs demanding peace, some in English, some in languages not meant for human throats. Rex watched it all from the Defiance's forward viewport, arms folded, chewing his latest toothpick. He hated crowds almost as much as he hated politics. Whole place looks like a circus, he muttered. Lisa stood beside him, arms full of data pads and diplomatic briefings. Circus is optimistic. Circuses have clowns. This has politicians. He grunted something like agreement. Below them, one alien shuttle descended awkwardly, listing to one side before landing squarely on a row of hot dog carts. The vendors scattered as the ship hissed steam and lowered a ramp with the grace of a drunken elephant. Lisa didn't even look up from her datapad. Graceful as always. Think they're nervous? Rex asked. Either that, she said, or their pilot's blind. The landing pad swarmed with security drones as the first alien delegation emerged. Tall, robed figures with glimmering skin that caught the light like polished stone. Zortak led them, the council's chief emissary, his solemn expression promising peace even as he stepped over the ruins of 3 hot dog carts without a word. Rex met him at the base of the ramp, boots crunching against the metal deck. "Welcome to Earth," he said flatly. Zortak's translator clicked, processed, then rendered his reply in perfectly calm English. "We are honored to be here, Captain Armstrong. We look forward to productive hugging." Rex raised one eyebrow. "You mean talks?" The translator word. "Possibly both." Lisa stifled a laugh, pretending to cough into her sleeve. The delegations moved toward the United Nations complex, flanked by human soldiers in combat armor and alien guards in shimmering uniforms. Every step bristled with suspicion. The memory of New Kansas hung over the plaza like storm clouds, thick and heavy. Inside the main hall, things somehow got worse. The chamber itself was enormous, circular, its ceiling a dome of transparent alloy showing the sprawl of the city and the hovering ships above. Flags from 100 nations lined the walls beside banners of alien empires no human could name. The moment humans and aliens faced each other across the polished floor, the room went silent. Cameras floated overhead like metal vultures. A human general leaned toward Rex. "Half these guys murdered our people 2 centuries ago," he whispered. "Now, they want a treaty." "Yeah," Rex said. "Guess flowers were out of stock." The summit began with speeches, long, droning things filled with words like reconciliation and understanding. Rex tuned most of it out, scanning the alien delegates instead. Zortak stood at the center, speaking in his deep, measured voice about peace, trade, and friendship, while his translator struggled to keep up. At one point, it rendered mutual cooperation as mutual digestion, earning a confused look from the human delegation. Lisa leaned toward Rex. "Do you think they're serious? About digestion?" "About peace, idiot." Rex didn't answer immediately. He watched the alien guards near the chamber doors, their hands resting just a little too close to their weapons. He watched the way the alien ships outside kept their engines idling like they were ready to bolt or fight at a moment's notice. "Maybe," he said finally. "Or maybe they just don't want us shooting first." Midway through the summit, things took a turn for the surreal when the council presented Earth with a peace offering, a creature the size of a horse, covered in shimmering fur that rippled through the color spectrum like living starlight. "This," Zortak announced proudly, "is a Kretak, a sacred beast of peace and harmony among our people." The Kretak chose that moment to vomit glowing purple slime all over the conference table. A human delegate recoiled in horror. An alien aide rushed forward with what looked like an industrial-sized towel. Lisa deadpanned. "Charming." "Smells like my cousin's cooking," Rex muttered. The creature, apparently satisfied, settled on the floor and began chewing on the leg of a chair with teeth like diamond saws. Zortak pretended not to notice. The peace talk stumbled on, awkward as a school dance. Alien delegates tried to offer cosmic delicacies as gifts. Humans served them fast food from the building's cafeteria. One alien nearly fainted after mistaking ketchup for some kind of weaponized acid. Another spent 10 minutes interrogating a vending machine, convinced it was an artificial life form enslaved by humanity. For a moment, things almost felt hopeful. Clumsy, awkward, even funny, but hopeful. Then Lisa's tablet beeped. She frowned, scanning the data feed streaming from orbital sensors. Her eyes narrowed. "Rex," she said quietly. He leaned toward her. "What is it?" She turned the screen so he could see. Several alien ships had moved into position just beyond Mars' orbit. Not trade vessels. Not shuttles. Warships. Big ones. Their energy signatures burned bright and hostile across every spectrum. Rex felt his jaw tighten. "You think the Council knows?" "Hard to say," Lisa murmured. "Could be a coincidence." Rex didn't believe in coincidences. He stood slowly, scanning the alien delegates across the chamber. Zortak was still talking about harmony, his translator dutifully mangling metaphors into nonsense about friendship harvests and emotional poultry. Either the emissary didn't know about the fleet, or he was the best liar Rex had ever seen. The summit wrapped hours later with promises of further talks. Treaties would be drafted, cultural exchanges arranged, committees formed. Everyone smiled for the cameras. But as the delegations filed out, Rex caught Lisa's eye. She gave the smallest shake of her head. The fleet near Mars hadn't moved. If anything, more ships were arriving. Out on the plaza, night had fallen. Alien ships hovered like predators above the city's lights. Protesters still chanted at the barricades. Soldiers still stood ready, fingers twitching near triggers. Zortak approached Rex before departing for his ship. His huge, unblinking eyes gave away nothing. "We appreciate your hospitality," the emissary said gravely. "This is the dawn of a new era between our peoples." Rex stared at him for a long moment. "Yeah," he said finally. "Sure feels like it." Zortak inclined his head and left. Rex turned toward Lisa. "Get me everything we have on that fleet near Mars. If they're planning something, I want to know before it lands on our heads." She nodded, face pale in the floodlights. Above them, the alien ships waited in the dark, silent and patient as spiders. And far beyond Mars, something else had just uncloaked. Something even bigger. The alien armadas hung in orbit like glittering knives pointed at Earth, their hulls glimmering with a menacing elegance only beings with far too much technology and far too little patience could achieve. Yet, from the bridge of the UES Hammer of Dawn, Captain Mason Cross didn't look impressed. He sat slouched in the command chair, boots propped up on the console, a toothpick lazily dangling from the corner of his mouth. To an outsider, he looked like a man watching late-night cable rather than humanity's possible extinction. But his eyes held the calm ferocity of someone who had been in this game long enough to know when the real cards were about to be played. The Alien Council's flagship, the Eternal Accord, crackled across the comms with yet another plea for reason. "Humans," a voice rasped, thick with static and that distinct alien elongation on the S. "The Galactic Federation demands an immediate cessation of hostilities. You are surrounded. Peace is still possible." "Yeah," Mason muttered under his breath, "and so's winning the lottery with a ticket you drew in crayon." He didn't bother to mute the channel. Beside him, Commander Riley Chin smirked, arms crossed. "They really think they're still running the show." Mason tilted his head, watching alien warships maneuver in perfect geometric formations outside the viewport. "Let him think. We've been the underdogs so long it's practically tradition." He leaned forward and tapped a sequence into the console with casual precision. "Let's see how they like the encore." The order flashed silently across the fleet. Far above the planet, beyond the alien sensor's comfort zone, hidden doors on massive orbital platforms began to grind open. These weren't the polished weapons of Earth's public arsenal, the ones rolled out in front of cameras and parades. These were the nightmares built in secret when everyone swore the peace treaty was working. The Eternal Accord hailed again, its voice now sharper, the way a teacher speaks when students are about to discover detention. "Humans, there will be no further warning." Mason grinned, though it was the kind of grin that didn't reach his eyes. "Oh, there'll be warnings, all right. Just not the kind you like." The first Project Payback weapon came online with a bass-deep thrum that vibrated through the hulls of every ship in orbit. A spear of white light tore through the void, punching a hole clean through an alien battleship before anyone, human or alien, had time to gasp. The ship folded in on itself, an imploding star swallowed by silence, leaving behind only drifting fragments glowing faintly in the Earthlight. On the Hammer of Dawn, no one cheered. No one spoke. The weapon had been theoretical until 12 seconds ago. Seeing it work in the cold vacuum made even the veterans shift uncomfortably. "Guess it wasn't a bluff," Riley murmured, trying for levity but failing. Mason rose, his boots thudding on the deck. "That was the small one." Alien comms exploded with overlapping languages, some demanding immediate retaliation, others demanding immediate retreat. The Federation had expected stubbornness. They hadn't expected this. Humanity's reputation as reckless brawlers with delusions of grandeur had just been replaced with something far worse: patient planners. One alien warlord, broadcasting on every frequency, like a man slamming open every door in a burning building, screamed, "Deploy all forces. Eradicate their weapons before they awaken more." "Oh, buddy," Mason muttered, watching new weapon platforms hum to life above the planet like sleeping giants stretching after a long nap. "They're already awake." The Federation fleets surged forward, thousands of ships blotting out the stars. Plasma beams carved neon scars across the darkness. The Hammer of Dawn shuddered as near misses rocked its shields. Mason barely flinched. "Return fire," he said simply. Earth's fleet obeyed. Railguns roared, missiles screamed through the void, and the new weapons, gleaming with a power no human should have been arrogant enough to build, spoke in blinding lances of annihilation. Alien ships began dying fast enough to make even Mason's stomach twist. This wasn't a battle. It was a dismantling. And yet the Federation didn't break. They had pride, or desperation, or maybe just too many admirals with reputations to protect. On the bridge, Lieutenant Vega whispered, "Sir, they're bringing up the dreadnought." Mason looked at the tactical display. The dreadnought wasn't just big, it was wrong. It looked like someone had forged a mountain into a blade and set it drifting among the stars, bristling with enough weaponry to turn continents into trivia questions. Its core glowed with the kind of power usually reserved for angry gods or malfunctioning suns. "They had that thing parked here the whole time?" Riley said, eyes wide. "Yep," Mason replied. "And they didn't use it because they were saving it for when they got scared," Mason said, watching as the dreadnought moved into firing position. "Guess what? They're scared." The dreadnought's main weapon began to charge, light bleeding along its edges like a sunrise made of radiation. One shot could scour half the planet, maybe all of it. "Sir," Vega said quietly, "Project Payback weapons aren't recharged yet." Mason chewed the inside of his cheek, eyes never leaving the tactical display. Humanity had finally punched above its weight, and now the universe was about to punch back hard enough to crack bones. "Get me a line to their commander," he said. A moment later, the alien leader appeared on screen, a creature of scales and bioluminescent scars, eyes burning with fury and what Mason swore looked suspiciously like fear. "Human," it hissed, "you have forced this war to its final hour." Mason leaned one elbow on the console, casual as a man ordering a sandwich. "Funny thing about final hours," he said. "Sometimes they're not ours." The alien's eyes narrowed. The dreadnought's weapon glowed brighter. Earth's fleet scrambled, but everyone knew nothing moved fast enough to stop what was coming. Mason straightened slowly, the humor draining from his face until only steel remained. "Tell your fleet," he said softly. "If that thing fires on my planet, there won't be a galaxy left to beg for peace." And for the first time, the alien hesitated. Outside, the dreadnought's weapon reached critical charge. Earth's untested defenses scrambled into position. And on the Hammer of Dawn, every crew member felt the same thing at once, the tipping point of history balanced on a knife's edge. This keeps the tension razor-sharp, develops Mason and the alien commander, escalates the stakes massively, and ends with a perfect lead-in to the climax. The dreadnought's weapon pulsed like a dying star, each flare across its surface promising extinction. On the bridge of the Hammer of Dawn, the crew watched in silence, breath shallow, as if sound alone might trigger apocalypse. Captain Mason Cross stood at the center, calm in that infuriating way only humans seemed capable of when staring at certain death. The alien commander's image still glowed on the main screen, its expression unreadable beneath layers of bioluminescent patterns. Mason leaned forward slightly, just enough to let the creature know he hadn't blinked once since this all began. "Fire," the alien ordered. The word dropped like a stone into a black ocean. The dreadnought's weapon screamed to life, a spear of energy building faster than anything Earth had ever seen. Around the planet, cities would be watching the same sky, thinking the sun had gone mad. "Sir," Vega shouted, fingers flying across controls. "Incoming in 20 seconds. Mason didn't move, didn't speak. His eyes locked on the alien commander. "Do it," Riley hissed beside him, hand hovering near the manual launch for Project Payback weapons. But the systems were still cycling, not ready, like a boxer who'd just taken his gloves off between rounds. Mason finally moved, but not toward the weapons. Toward the comms. "Open channel," he said. The alien commander snarled. "Your time is." Mason cut him off. "You fire that thing," he said, voice low but carrying through the bridge, "and Earth fires the failsafes." "Failsafes," the alien mocked. Mason smiled coldly. "Oh, we didn't tell you about those, huh?" Riley glanced at him sharply. There were no failsafes. Not unless Mason had been keeping secrets from his own crew, which, knowing Mason, was entirely possible. "See," Mason went on conversationally, "you level Earth and the automatic response satellites launch every black site prototype we ever swore we didn't have. Straight into your homeworlds. And, trust me, those things don't miss." The alien commander hesitated. The weapon charge hummed higher, seconds from firing, the dreadnought shaking like it was about to give birth to Armageddon itself. "You are bluffing," the alien spat. "Maybe," Mason said, still smiling. "You willing to bet your species on it?" The alien's mandibles clicked, rage and calculation warring across its features. Behind it, the dreadnought's weapon hit full charge. The bridge lights on the Hammer of Dawn flickered as if even electricity was holding its breath. Then nothing. The weapon held at peak power, the dreadnought frozen like a predator suddenly unsure if the prey was actually bait. Riley exhaled shakily. "I think he's buying it." But Mason knew better. Predators didn't hesitate this long unless they were deciding whether the trap was worth chewing through. "Captain," Vega whispered, "if that thing fires, we don't have anything left to stop it." "Not true," Mason murmured. He tapped his console once, casually, like a man ordering a refill at a bar rather than potentially ending civilizations. Far above Earth's orbit, hidden deep in a forgotten weapons platform everyone thought had been mothballed decades ago, something woke up. It wasn't elegant. It wasn't alien. It was human in the worst way, too big, too loud, too dangerous to even exist. They had nicknamed it the Equalizer because even in secret projects, humans loved their dramatic titles. Riley saw the power spike on sensors. "Oh, hell," she whispered. The Equalizer didn't charge like the alien weapon did. It simply roared once, a deep subspace tremor, and fired a single projectile the size of a city bus straight through the void. No energy beams. No glowing theatrics. Just raw, ugly physics, mass accelerated to speeds nature never intended. It hit the dreadnought dead center. The alien weapon didn't fire. It didn't get the chance. The dreadnought folded like wet paper around its own collapsing core, its light snuffed out in a silent implosion that took half the alien command structure with it. The shockwave rippled across space, a silent tsunami scattering debris through the Federation fleets. Ships broke formation. Some fired wildly. Others simply turned and ran, pride and tactics forgotten in the face of the galaxy's loudest "Do not mess with us" sign. On the Hammer of Dawn, no one spoke for a long moment. Then Riley let out a low whistle. "So, that was the big red button you swore we didn't have?" Mason finally sat down again, all calm composure, though sweat trickled at his temple. "Every good bluff," he said, "needs a little truth under it." The alien commander's image flickered back on screen, smoke and chaos visible behind him. His earlier arrogance was gone, replaced by the look of someone realizing they'd brought a knife to a thermonuclear war. This is not victory," the alien snarled, though it sounded more like desperation. Mason leaned forward. "Call it whatever you want. But the next ship that fires on Earth? We erase every star map with your name on it. We're done playing civilized." Silence stretched. Then, slowly, alien ships across the system began shutting down weapons, engines dimming. The war wasn't over, but in this moment, humanity had stared down the galaxy and not blinked. As the alien fleets retreated, Riley crossed her arms. Think they'll be back? Probably, Mason said. But next time, they'll bring a bigger stick. And us. Mason allowed himself the smallest grin. Oh, we'll bring two. Earth's battered fleet floated victorious, but bruised above the blue planet below, crews already cheering, laughing, crying, the way humans always did after surviving their own recklessness. Mason watched the retreating armadas on screen, the weight of what came next already settling on his shoulders. Peace, maybe. Or war on a scale no one had ever imagined. Either way, humanity had stepped out of the shadows tonight. For better or worse, the galaxy now knew Earth didn't bluff. And Mason Cross knew, deep down, the universe would never forget it. This section ties every thread together. Mason's wit, the aliens' miscalculation, humanity's terrifying ingenuity, and a climax that satisfies while leaving room for future chaos.